There have been several rare but tragic cases where large snakes, particularly reticulated pythons, have swallowed humans whole. Most such incidents have been reported in rural parts of Indonesia. Unfortunately, these incidents are actually extremely rare, and it's more likely for me to win the lottery than to get eaten by a snake. However, it does happen, and when they do, the results are as gruesome as you can imagine. Today's video is about close calls, near misses, and, of course, actual humans being devoured by snakes. Number 10. Factorial eaten alive. Let's start off this list with a man who intentionally fed himself to a giant snake. Yeah, let me clarify that. A man trying to feed himself to a snake. Who would have none of him? Giving birth to 2014's worst TV fail. Or possibly even the worst TV fail in history. In a stunt that was aired on Discovery Channel, Paul Rosalie was to be the first man to have himself be intentionally eaten by an anaconda. Or at least, he would have been if the Discovery special hadn't ended in a massive failure. Rosalie was at the ready. He was in his supposedly crush-proof suit, which was peppered with cameras to capture his trip down the snake's digestive tract and all of its gory details. Even had a special breathing apparatus made so he'd be able to breathe while inside the snake's guts. However, the anaconda just refused to swallow him. It instead just decided to coil around Rosalie in an ever-tightening grip, which then prompted him to ask for help as he felt that his arms were about to snap. So much for that crush-proof suit, huh? Millions of people were incensed that they didn't get to see a man eaten alive by an anaconda on live TV, kind of like the sadists that we all really are. We then took to social media to air our disgust. And if you're one of those people, I think it's about time to ask yourself, what's wrong with you, buddy? Need to talk? Let us know in the comments below. Number 9. The exploding python Burmese pythons are one of the largest snakes in the world. And since they're so big, they also require very large prey. But sometimes they take off a bit more than they can chew, often to dire consequences. One python in the Florida Everglades thought it came across a very easy meal when it chanced upon the carcass of a recently dead alligator. The 13-foot-long python thought it would be able to handle the 6-foot-long gator, and oh, how wrong it was! Whilst in the middle of swallowing the dead gator, the snake's stomach ruptured, killing it instantly. Not content with rupturing the snake's stomach, the dead gator literally caused the snake to burst at the seams, its body splitting open and exposing the gator's hindquarters and all that gooey, gory goodness. Yes, the photos are a little bit gory, but it clearly shows that large snakes eat just about anything they can fit into their mouths, even if it is too large for their stomachs to take. 8. Snake in the bedroom. I promise I'll get to the juicier stories in a bit. For the meantime, let's look at some really close calls. A man from Leeds in the UK woke up in the wee hours of the morning to something truly terrifying. A snake in his own bedroom. According to him, he was woken up by a strange clinking sound in his room. He opened his eyes and used his phone to see in the pitch-dark room, and that is when he saw the snake climbing up his bedside table. Fortunately, though, it wasn't a man-eating anaconda, but a corn snake, a smaller constrictor. The man managed to trap the snake in a sleeping bag while he called for animal control. Corn snakes aren't native to the UK, so it's highly likely that the constrictor wasn't escaped or even an abandoned pet. The snake was then later adopted by a reptile specialist, since no person came forward to claim it, and they gave it the name of Tango. 7. Attacked twice by the same snake. If you don't take into account all the incidents involving snake handlers and those who interact with dangerous snakes every single day, snake attacks on humans are really quite rare. In fact, you'll be more likely to be hit by lightning than get attacked by a large constrictor. That's why this snake attack is so puzzling. Not only did the snake attack once, but it came back a year later to do it again. Back in 2014, a 12-foot Australian scrub python found itself around the vicinity of Leanne Mears, a mother of two. Researchers were trying the snake, which was fitted with a transmitter, so they were able to warn Leanne of the potential danger. While scrub pythons aren't known to attack fully grown humans, they wouldn't pass off a child or small pet. So Leanne did the right thing by locking her kid's bedroom door. However, she made the huge mistake of keeping her own bedroom door open, and she woke up in the middle of the night with the snake tightly coiled around her leg. She did manage to get herself free from the snake and was also able to lock it in the kitchen until help arrived. It was relocated the following day. However, the same snake came back a year later, attacked the family dog, rendering it unconscious. Fortunately, though, the dog did end up surviving. Number 6. Strangled by a python. Okay, so we now move on to the sadder parts of today's video, where people have actually been killed by a snake attack. No eating the human alive here yet, but please stay with me. We will get to that. Back in 2019, Laura Hearse from Battleground, Indiana, was found dead in her home with a reticulated python loosely wrapped around her neck. An autopsy was conducted later on, and it was confirmed that she died of strangulation, possibly killed by the python that was found around her neck. I say it's possible because the reticulated python wasn't the only suspect. The 8-foot python wasn't the only snake in the house. Hearse was known to have kept up to 20 different kinds of snakes, but when she was found, there was 140 of the slithering reptiles inside the house. The house was specifically used to keep her snake collection, and she visited it about twice a week to visit her pets. It's entirely possible that Hearse failed to feed her pets one day after visiting a house full of hungry reptiles, but no one knows for sure how 120 more snakes came to live in the house. Number 5. In front of witnesses. Finding a human being inside a giant snake is dramatic enough, but witnessing one swallowing someone, especially a friend and classmate, is guaranteed to scar you for life. Back over in 2002 near Durban, South Africa, a 20-foot African rock python attacked, killed, and ate a 10-year-old schoolboy in front of his friends. The horrified children took refuge up a tree and witnessed the entire ordeal in real time. They were so terrified that they stayed up for 3 or 4 hours, only descending when they saw the snake slither away. Police and snake experts were called, but no trace was found of either the snake or the boy. According to one of the boy's classmates, she witnessed the snake wrap itself around the boy's body, and as it squeezed tighter, she saw his head go limp. The snake then proceeded to swallow the boy whole right in front of the terrified children. This was the first documented case of an African rock python attacking and consuming a human. The remnants of the boy and the snake were never again found. Number 4. The death of 2 brothers. Pet stores are always a magnet for kids, so having a pet store right beside your house should have been an amazing treat. That's what brothers Connor and Noah Barth felt as they lived next to a reptile ocean, a pet store in New Brunswick, which was owned by Jean-Claude Savoy. Quite predictably, the brothers, as well as other neighborhood children, frequented the shop. Savoy had a private reptile collection, though, which he kept in his apartment, a collection which included a 13-foot African rock python. Mind you, this is even worse because African rock pythons are a species that were illegal to keep as a pet in New Brunswick. One day, the snake escaped its enclosure and somehow made its way into the brothers' room, where the two were sleeping. The 2 boys were then found dead later on. Number 3. Eaten by his own pet. What was your first pet when you were a kid? A hamster, maybe? Or if you're really lucky, Your mom might have given you a puppy. For little Zach Shaw, his parents gave him a 20-foot-long python named Jaws. The two were inseparable, with Zach even spending a lot of time in the snake's habitat. His parents, Rich and Lisa, were so sure that Jaws wouldn't do anything to harm their son. You know, until one day he did. Rich was out of the house, taking their other kids to school, while Lisa was painting the study room. Zach, as always, was in Jaws' enclosure, completely unsupervised. Lisa then went out to buy something, and when she came back, she couldn't hear little Zach playing anymore. She decided to go to the enclosure to see what was going on, and that's when she saw the most traumatic experience of her life. Her son gone, killed, and eaten by his own pet snake. Oh, but don't worry. Despite the tragic event, both parents maintained that they couldn't have done anything to prevent what happened. They even claimed that Jaws even misses little Zach, and you can see it in his boy little eyes. God, I hope the snake eats you too. But before that, have you ever wondered where the giant snake is going to swallow you whole capital of the world is? No idea? Well, stick around to find out. Number 2. Man swallowed by snake. Back in 2017, an Indonesian man named Akbar went missing in the island of Sulawesi in Indonesia. According to his friends, he just went out one morning to harvest some palm oil, and he never came back. Police were then called, and a search for the 25-year-old man started. It was during the search when they came across a 23-foot-long python with a human-shaped lump in its stomach. Fearing the absolute worst, the police shot and killed the snake, after which they slit the dead snake's belly. It was then when their worst fears were confirmed. Inside the snake's stomach was Akbar, fully clothed and very clearly dead. The huge snake had coiled around him and crushed him to death before swallowing him whole, clearly thinking that he was only just another meal. In any case, this was the first recorded incident of a grown man ending up as snake food. But of course, it wasn't the last. Number 1. Woman swallowed by snake. Just over a year before Akbar's incident, another person was eaten up by a giant reticulated python in Sulawesi. This time, it was a woman. 54-year-old Watiba went missing while tending to her vegetable garden one day, prompting her neighbors to frantically search for her. Her machete and her sandals were found a day after she went missing, and 100 feet from them, villagers also found a 23-foot-long python with a distended belly. Already thinking that the snake ate the poor woman, the villagers immediately killed the snake and dragged the carcass back to the village before deciding to cut it open. When they did, the fully intact body of Watiba was found inside the snake. How many of you have nightmares of a giant snake eating you whole? Let us know in the comments section down below.